You're still watching Loyola television. Time now for the news summary. We look at the headlines. Holders of 3 Eurobonds amounting to $3 billion have rejected Zambia's request for suspension of interest payments. A commission of inquiry to investigate the privatization of national asset is to be instituted. The locals in Sanford district are in celebratory mood as they once again prepare for an abundance of fish in the rivers and lakes. Pat Sondaka, the Zambia national team striker, grabbed a brace to send Australian Bundesliga League champions Red Bull Salzburg to UEFA Champions League group stages. My name is Luizia Nalupumbwe. Holders of 3 Eurobonds amounting to $3 billion have rejected Zambia's request for suspension of interest payment for 6 months. The decision to decline Zambia's request is based on alleged absence of clarity on some issues bordering on rising debts, transparency, and fair treatment among creditor classes. The bondholders have further observed that Finance Minister Dr. Walyangandu's proposed 2021 national budget deviates Zambia from the path of debt sustainability. This is according to a statement issued by new state partners who have been appointed as financial advisors by the bondholders. Meanwhile, Yusuf Dodia, an economist, has told Loyola News that the bondholders' rejection is expected because the bonds were given and issued to private investors who are in no position to renegotiate, unlike governments.
I do believe that now, rather than complaining about what we did in the past, we need to look at the present, what we can do now, and what we can do in the future to resolve this outstanding challenge to our economy. So export earnings around $8 billion per year translates to $22 million a day in export earnings. Surely that kind of money as an economy can be very useful in building the economy and paying back the bonds.
And Trevor Hambai, a financial analyst, says the government should have acquired an agreement from the International Monetary Fund before engaging the bondholders. Mr. Hambai says government's proposal to freeze payments positioned the bondholders to question capacity to repay their debts.
For those of us who were on the outside, is something that we could see coming. There are a number of factors that contributed to this, and the bondholders did actually raise this. And the first one was obviously the fact that they'll be questioning the position of the country in terms of where will we be in 6 months and where will the resources to pay for the interest in 6 months come from. As a precursor to this, we had the budget, and the budget in itself showed that we are unable to pay for the bonds until we come through with the interest payments. And I think that was an issue.
A commission of inquiry to investigate the privatization of national asset is to be instituted. This follows numerous calls by some Zambians who want to know exactly what transpired when mines, government assets, and other properties underwent privatization. President Edgar Lungu gave the green light at State House, saying the topic has been on people's minds for a long time and needs to be put to rest. Mr. Lungu received a petition from a group of students and civil society organizations on behalf of 40,000 petitioners.
Having heard the voices which have been across the country, north, south, east and west, throughout the country, I'll take time to reflect on this matter and I'll make a few consultations, because what you have given me is a petition of signatures without giving me terms of reference. So I'll have to sit with those who are well versed with the matter of privatization historically, and those who are very well versed with the law, to tell me what will be the change of reference for the commission, and also then we move in accordance with what law provides. I think it's a matter of time.
Earlier, Evelyn Horn College Student Union President Namwaka Malama said most Zambians feel betrayed by those who had been given the task to conduct the privatization of national assets. Those who presented the petition include students from University of Zambia, UNZA, Copperbelt University, CBU, National Institute for Public Administration, NIPA, and civil society organizations.
I firmly stand before you to move the motion to call for this important inquiry. It is timely, Mr. President. It is noble. It is significant. Mr. President, the timeliness in our call as citizens of Zambia to set up a commission cannot be overemphasized. It is the moment of truth, and we are asking you to help the nation face the truth. For decades now, the discourse around the manner in which our national assets were handled keeps coming up each and every time.
The locals in Samfya district are in celebratory mood as they once again prepare for an abundance of fish in the rivers and lakes. The celebrations and feasting occasionally takes place as long as a decade. This is when their wager gods release the migratory insects locally known as obumfuku, swarming from between the swamps and marshy water of Chilubi and Lunga Islands near Kumboya Lubambe. These tiny mosquito-like insects emerge in millions, covering the entire sky. They cause an eclipse of their own as they fly over and land on the waters of Lake Bangweulu to the jubilation of fish, which flag off the week of feasting before they land in the people's ports. This is the time when natives near the lake call out to each other, saying, "Samfya impoto," the famous phrase from which Samfya got its name from. Nsama Kearns is Care for Nature Zambia Executive Director, who spoke to Loyola News about this phenomenon.
People are running around, and this they are saying there will be too much fish now. This is what they are saying, too much, that there will be too much fish.
We're very worried because we thought these insects could be as harmful as the red locusts, which have broken out in the western and southern parts of the country. But after speaking to the local people, they were actually celebrating. There was jubilation because for them, this is a time that they actually even praise their ancestors for remembering them and giving them a season of plenty fish. When these insects start their migration, which lasts about 2 to 3 days, they fall on the lake and provide a rich protein for the fish, and this makes the fish come to the surface. Even those that are deep in schools, they still come to the surface, and this makes it very easy for the fishermen to catch the fish. So actually the people were saying they even remember the time when this area got its name because the fishermen used to come out calling Sanfiem Poto, meaning clean your pot, I'm coming with plenty of fish. And that is how the area got its name, Sanfia.
The opposition for Patriots for Economic Progress says the clarifications given by the Electoral Commission of Zambia on both the online voter pre-registration and the issuance of a new voters' roll are sound and valid. Sean Tembo, the Patriots for Economic Progress leader, says insinuations that rural voters will be disenfranchised because they do not have smartphones nor internet connection is a mistaken belief based on unsound arguments. Mr. Tembo says the online voter pre-registration process is not final and it is also optional. He has told Loyola News in Lusaka that his fellow political leaders who label the electoral process as rigged to show proof failure, to which they must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for alarming the nation.
As Patriots for Economic Progress, we have noted the various concerns that have been raised by fellow opposition political parties with regard to the ongoing preparations for the 2021 general elections by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. I think the two main issues is the issue of the online voter pre-registration as well as the issue of the new voters' roll. And our take on this is that we believe the new voters' roll would be more credible than updating the 2011 law, because clearly within the last 10 years, a lot of people might have died and others might have shifted. With regard to the online voter registration, the Electoral Commission of Zambia has clarified this issue, that online voter pre-registration is not final and that people still need to go to registration points for them to register as voters. And our view is that these explanations are reasonable by ECZ, and every reasonable person should be able to understand these explanations. And we find it regrettable that some leaders have continued to disparage the Commission and thereby try to undermine the credibility of the next year's general elections, which in our view is very regrettable because it has potential to bring about anarchy in this country. Thank you.
But Elizabeth Chitika, the New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy National Secretary, says her party only wants to see transparency in all processes to be conducted by the Electoral Commission of Zambia.
We as the MMD, what we are condemning, or our concerns are basically that indeed the ECZ lacks transparency. For the MMD, whenever ECZ has done something, in the best interest of all the stakeholders, we have always commended them. But this time, what we are saying is that they lack transparency. Why are we saying that? The ECZ have always consulted the stakeholders, before. But in fact, what we have only seen is a situation where the ECZ pronouncing or announcing measures which they have taken without consulting the stakeholders. And that is what we are finding very, unusual about the way the ECZ are carrying.
The Institute of Hospitality in the tourism sector says reforms need to be undertaken in order to capture good norms and behaviors amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Rogers Kazembe, the Zambia Institute of Hospitality chairperson, says retraining of personnel to follow the COVID-19 guidelines is key as the sector reopens under the new normal. Mr. Kazembe has also welcomed stimulus packages that the government will make available to the hospitality sector. He was speaking in an interview to Loyola News in Lusaka today.
A lot of Zambia's business in tourism, about 70%, is dependent on to foreign. Our marketing had been tilted more onto foreign. And most of the lodges and hotels that deal with foreign tourists or business people who come to take up the hospitality services, they didn't come. And so those enterprises or hotels, lodges, game clubs, they closed. So basically now what we are looking at is the recovery program. There has to be retrained. Retraining is the key now because the old is gone. Now we are in the new normal. We have staff need to be trained how to handle a customer within the new normal, including the clients. They will need to be assured that when they come out here, are they safe to go to such a place?
The Kalumbila District Council in Northwestern Province has been suspended for politicking governmental developmental projects. The Kalumbila Council is chaired by the opposition UPND. Members of the political party are said to have inspected government projects, claiming they were UPND project when in fact not. Charles Banda, the local government minister, said the councillors at the local authority displayed high levels of misconduct. Mr. Banda announced a 90-day suspension slapped on Kalumbila Council at a press briefing in Lusaka.
Dear colleagues, the action taken by some councillors to invite their political leaders for inspection of government projects in Kalumbila district tends to politicize the process of service delivery and needs to be censured. In so doing, there will be an equal platform in community participation, which is the yardstick of decentralization that is promoted by the Patriotic Front government. I need not to overemphasize that this action was illegal and will not be tolerated by the Patriotic Front government. If we don't take action now, it means everybody else will follow suit. There will be lawlessness, and people will always be misinforming the public. In view of the foregoing, colleagues, I now invoke the provisions of Section 56B of the Local Government Act number 2 of 2019 to suspend Kalumbira Town Council forthwith, and hence all councillors will not perform their functions of the council for an initial period of 90 days. Other processes will follow, and we shall be informed accordingly.
You're still watching the news summary on Loyola television. Time now for international news. Nigeria has developed a COVID-19 test kits that can give results in less than 40 minutes and does not need extensive training to use. Health Minister Olorunimbe Mamora said it was much faster and 10 times cheaper than the PCR testing method currently being used. The kit is yet to be approved by regulatory bodies that has raised hopes of boosting the country's low testing rate. Nigeria has been importing key elements needed for coronavirus testing. The authorities said the test kit, known as SARS-CoV-2 isothermomolecular assay, was developed by Nigeria's Institute of Medical Research. The head of Nigeria's COVID-19 response task force, Boss Mustafa, told a media briefing that the kit was Nigeria's contribution to the global fight against the pandemic through scientific research. The health authorities said the test kits will be distributed soon to communities after a validation process to boost testing across the country. Nigeria has so far tested just over 500,000 people out of its population of around 2 million. Sudanese women played a pivotal role in ousting former President Omar al-Shabar in 2019 as Sudanese transitional government moves towards democracy for the first time in decades. Women are again playing a key role in seeking justice and equality. Here is Voice of America with more details.
Sudanese women played a prominent role organizing the protests that ousted former President Omar al-Bashir in 2019 after 30 years in power. Since then, women are playing a prominent role in the transitional government. A woman has been appointed as Chief Justice, the first not only in Sudan but in the entire Arab world. An unprecedented 4 women were appointed to cabinet positions in the new government, including the country's first female Minister of Foreign Affairs, Asma Muhammad Abdullah. But women are still marching to amend the laws and restore the rights taken from them under the strict Islamic code enforced by Bashir's government. The Sudanese Professionals Association, or SPA, was one of the key groups behind the protests that led to Bashir's ouster. Samahir al-Mubarak, who heads the SPA's Pharmacists Association, remains active in politics.
I've never felt that we've reached a level where we should stop. So the motivation that powered people to overthrow the Bashir regime is the same motivation that is pushing people to continue to reach the revolution's goals of freedom, peace, and justice.
The June 3, 2019 crackdown on pro-democracy protesters in Khartoum left more than 120 people dead, including the eldest son of Amir Qaboos. His death didn't deter Qaboos from being involved, and she's now the deputy chief of an organization of people who lost relatives in the uprising.
What we are doing is the continuance of the martyrs' role and their sacrifices. We didn't reach our goals yet. We didn't see the freedom, peace, and justice the martyrs demanded. We will continue until we achieve all of the revolution's goals that our children sacrificed for, and to restore the rights, till we see Sudan the way our children dreamt about, and we all are dreaming about.
Qaboos and al-Mubarak were recently awarded the 2020 Freedom House Award for their role in advancing democratic change in Sudan. The award was under the theme of the power of protest. Naba Muhiddin for VOA News, Khartoum.
The Cambodian government has allocated $1.2 billion to bolster an economy struggling with the withdrawal of some European trade perks and the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Voice of America has the details.
Under its everything but arms policy, the European Union grants tariff-free access to goods from developing countries that meet international standards on democracy. But a ban preventing the main opposition party from contesting the 2018 election upset the EU, Cambodia's largest export market, prompting the withdrawal of some trade preferences in mid-August, costing business an initial $130 million. The Garment Manufacturers Association says the EU erred by withdrawing preferences amid the COVID-19 pandemic, which has devastated the economy. Hardest hit is the $7 billion garment industry, which employs about 700,000 workers who each earn around $190 a month, producing for big brands like Levi Strauss and Adidas. Peng Kasal has worked at Hunhua, Cambodia for the last 6 years. She says losses from the EBA policy are having a dreadful impact on business amid layoffs, lost overtime and reduced hours.
Now I am begging for the government's help because of this issue. I'm also in debt with the banks and finance institutions, which is why I'm desperately seeking help.
Her sentiments were echoed by Sao Chen, who works at the Mendar factory. He says overall earnings were down 20%, while his colleagues have been laid off for 4 to 6 months.
The main problem we are facing today is some workers are the only breadwinners, feeding an entire family at home. Sometimes their monthly income is only $100 to $200, and they spend everything on rent, food, kids' school, and there are many more costs.
The Garment Manufacturers Association says 450 factories have suspended work and another 83 have closed, affecting about 150,000 workers. It says this could push millions of Cambodians back into poverty. Brands can move to another country if economic or political conditions change, as many Western businessmen and non-governmental organisations did after the elections. Their workers, however, cannot. The Coalition of Cambodian Apparel Workers Democratic Union say they are worried by a lack of orders and a fear that big-name brands will start sourcing their garments from other countries.
I think the party need to work together to maintain and to keep this benefit for the country and especially for the workers.
But the plight of workers remains uncertain, and that is unlikely to change amid lost trade and the pandemic. Luke Hunt for VOA News, Phnom Penh, Cambodia.
The first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden resembled more of a shouting match than a structured exchange of ideas. Debate organizers say they are working on changes to ensure a more productive discussion for the candidates' next encounter. But analysts say the chaotic outcome of their first meeting is also a reflection of the country's deep political polarization. The Voice of America brought us this report.
Social media exploded with memes during the first presidential debate between President Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden, with many viewers characterizing it as childish and as old men yelling at each other.
This is a left-wing problem. This is radical left. Will you shut up, man?
There were plenty of personal insults.
There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Listen, you're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
The kinds of things that we saw last night in the debate
are exactly the kinds of things that erode democracy, that in fact our democracy is at risk. And you can tell by the way that political leaders talk to one another.
Discussions about the pandemic, economic recovery, and racial unrest were drowned out by insults and interruptions, and shocking moments such as when the president refused to denounce white supremacists.
Who would you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
Proud Boys, a far-right group that engages in political violence, celebrated the president's remarks and created online memes with his answer. On Wednesday, Trump said he does not know who they are.
Over 200,000 dead, 14 million jobs lost, and Donald Trump spent an entire debate blaming others.
The Biden campaign launched a post-debate digital ad blitz highlighting Trump's remarks, while the Trump campaign claimed that the moderator and the media treated Trump unfairly in the debate and that Biden is weak.
Joe Biden, who was put on his heels most of the time, spent a lot of time looking around for assistance from the moderator and sort of looking around for someone to bail him out.
Initial polls show that the chaotic debate did little to sway voters.
It was very disappointing for American democracy and in the country as a whole. It was embarrassing, to be honest with you.
As campaigning enters its final weeks, both campaigns are trying to find voters they can still win over in the key swing states seen as most likely to affect the results. The remaining 2 presidential debates and 1 vice presidential debate are scheduled in October. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News.
That's it in international news. Time now for sports. Parts on Dhaka, the Zambia national team striker grabbed a breast to send Australian Bundesliga League champions Red Bull Salzburg to the UEFA Champions League group stages in a 3-1 win against Israeli side Maccabi Tel Aviv. Salzburg came into the match with a 2-1 aggregate lead from the first leg and was only looking for a draw to guarantee qualification. Dhaka put the host in the lead 16 minutes into the first half with the first-time finish within the area after some good work from Koita before Eden Kazev put Maccabi level in the 30th minute. And Enoch Mwepu, another of the Chipolo Polo midfielder, came close twice, first with a header at the near post from the corner and then a shot from inside the box, which both went wide off the mark. With the match looking like going to the break level, Masaya Okugawa was tripped in the box and Dominic made no mistake from the penalty spot, putting the ball in the upper left corner. Maccabi were stronger after the break and
very great feelings. I'm happy that the dream has come.
Dhaka put the match beyond their reach when he headed in a pinpoint cross from Albert Vauci in the 68th minute.
True. We have been waiting for this moment, and I'm just happy that we have shown good character today. We've shown good mentality. We've played as a team, like always, and we show that we really wanted it so much. And yeah, it's a very emotional night, a very memorable night for us. Well, in this moment, I think we have played, yeah, like you said, Liverpool, Napoli. I think it would be a good experience to meet the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, those. I think it would be a great experience for us, and yeah, just keeping our fingers crossed to see what or who our opponents will be tomorrow.
Well, on that sporting item, we call it a wrap, but before we go, a recap of the headlines once again. Holders of 3 euro bonds amounting to $3 billion have rejected Zambia's request for suspension of interest payments for 6 months. The decision to decline Zambia's request is based on alleged absence of clarity on some issues bordering on rising debt, transparency and fair treatment among creditor classes. The bondholders have further observed that Finance Minister Dr. Walyangandu's proposed 2021 national budget deviates Zambia from the path of debt sustainability. A commission of inquiry to investigate the privatization of national asset is to be instituted. This follows numerous calls by some Zambians who want to know exactly what transpired when mines, government assets and other properties underwent privatization. President Edgar Lungu gave the green light at State House, saying the topic has been on people's minds for a long time and needs to be put to rest. The locals in Sanford district are in celebratory mood as they once again prepare for an abundance of fish in the rivers and lakes. The celebrations and feasting occasionally takes place as long as a decade. This is when their wager gods release the migratory insects, locally known as Wumfuku. Finally, in sports, Patson Daka, the Zambia national team striker, grabbed a brace to send Australian Bundesliga League champions Red Bull Salzburg to the UEFA Champions League group stages, a 3-1 nil against Israeli side Maccabi Tel Aviv. Salzburg came into the match with a 2-1 aggregate lead from the first leg and was only looking for a draw to guarantee qualification. Thank you so much for watching. On behalf of the entire production and news crew, my name is Louisia Nalupumbwe. Good night. God bless.